don't know nothing about this. Devastation of Baal? I don't know how to pronounce that. There's two A's. It's weird. I guess we'll find out in this video. But I don't know. I've never heard of this. And it's only 15 minutes long, so let's get into it. Warhammer 40k lore. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Ring the bell for all the notifications if you want to see me cover more lore. I'm covering all the lore, all the anime series, all the anime abridged series. So stay tuned for all of that, because it's coming for the next forever. Let's go! More Warhammer lore.
This video is sponsored by Incogni. Hi friends, today we're going to talk about one of the worst, if not the worst
That's weird. Why am I experiencing interruptions?
things that happened to the good old Blood Angels since their glorious dad Sanguinius got pulped by known jerk Mr. Horus Heresy. So, find your favorite red shirt,
I know a little bit about the Horus Heresy.
Little cry about your lost dad, grab a can of Raid, and let's get ready to learn all about the Devastation of Baal. The Devastation of Baal was a desperate last stand by the Imperial forces to protect the world of Baal against the Tyranid menace. The clash was the ultimate conclusion to the Third Tyrannic War and was a pivotal moment in the history of the Blood Angels. Which, also, the Imperium is constantly on the defense from
I like how he's using not AI-generated art, unless these were AI-generated, and I want to know which AI he's using, because these are really cool.
Insidious threats. Much like how Incogni is constantly on defense from data brokers taking and selling your personal information.
You don't want that to happen.
Data brokers can be quite dangerous. Malicious ones may weaponize your personal information to carry out scary things like scams, identity theft, and scam likely calls. Ooh.
Yep. Yeah, you can blame Facebook and the DMV for that.
Ooh.
Because they sell your data.
And
DMV
there could be
sells your data.
hundreds of sites that have your information. Before using Incogni, I found an alarming amount of sites with my phone number and address just from Googling my name. But after using Incogni for a while, they have taken my data off of over 400 sites, and I have to dig deep to find any with my info on it, which is quite comforting to me. Best of all, though, I basically had to do nothing to get this information taken down. Once getting the brokers, did a long and arduous process. .com/crackduck and use the promo code crackduck to get 60% off on the annual plan.
Or if you plan to.
Thank you, Incogni, for sponsoring this video.
Yeah, 60% off. That's more than 50.
Baal is the wasteland homeworld of the Blood Angels, and Devastation is one of the best, if not the best.
Devastation!
Best Transformers games. Oops, wait, no. I mean, Devastation is what those goofy little critters at Tyranids plan to carry out on Baal so that they could—
By the way, if you haven't seen Transformers 1, I think it's literally the best Transformers anything ever made.
Continue their warpath throughout the galaxy and consume that sweet, sweet biomass. And the Devastation of Baal began off of Baal on its sister system of Cryptus. The Cryptus system was known as the Krypton Shield and was important to the Blood Angel since it was the first line of defense for the world of Baal.
The Blood Angel makes me think of Blood Eagle that the Vikings used to do. I'm not going to go into that, but if you want to know what that is, look up Blood Eagle. It's pretty fucked up, though. Gotta warn you.
Krypton Shield was attacked by the infamous Hive Fleet Leviathan on their never-ending quest to satiate the great
Twonkies? Tinker Toys from Spy Kids? Is that what those are?
Devourer's never-ending hunger. Across the Krypton Shield, the combined Imperial force of the Blood Angels, Flesh Terrors, Sisters of Battle, Imperial Guard, and other dudes fought back the gargantuan hordes of Tyranids. On the first day, the Imperium successfully killed millions of Tyranids thanks to strategies learned in prior Tyrannic wars, cunning leadership, and savage heroics. However, killing millions of Tyranids means little when there's like a bazillion of them. And these early victories meant little for the Imperium.
Oh, they're not robots, they're bugs. Okay. Okay, I don't know much about the Warhammer. You're gonna have to give me a little bit of a break. I'm learning slowly. There's a lot to get into.
Imperials, as Leviathan simply adapted to the Imperial tactics and unleashed their Hive in full force. This second wave was devastating, and in a mere day, nearly all of the shield worlds of Cryptus were decimated as the unending swarms utterly crushed the Imperial defenders. The remaining Imperials fell back and were reinforced by Ultra Mega Chad, Lewis Dante, and his Blood Angels. Dante and his boys secured some minor victories, but it was clear that these efforts were futile. Meanwhile, on another world in the Cryptus system, Asphodex, the Mithrid dynasty was awoken by Anrakir the Traveler. These Necrons formed a temporary alliance with the Blood Angel to repel the Tyranids and activate an ancient Necron tier weapon, the Starflame.
That's cool. I will give it to Warhammer. Everything that is named in Warhammer is badass.
efforts, the Necrons and the Imperials activated the weapon, and with a heavy heart, Dante decided to make a huge sacrifice to defend the greater Imperium. He knew that the Hive would only continue to grow as it consumed the biomass of the Imperial defenders, and it would soon be unstoppable. So he used the Starflame to destroy one of Cryptus' twin stars, and then he used it to further devastate the Tyranid forces along with his
devastation
zone when he shot the Starflame across the system, destroying everything in its wake. This severely crippled Leviathan and bought the Blood Angels and other Imperials the time they needed to evacuate survivors and fortify Baal for the Leviathan counterattack. And unfortunately for the Marines, they'd be mostly alone in their defense, as most of the Guard and Sisters were killed in the Cryptus campaign or set off to reinforce Cadia, since a little thing called the 13th Black Crusade was also happening at this time. So then, Dante prepared his
The 13th Black Crusade, that sounds racial.
Chapter and remaining forces as he called upon all of the sons of Sanguinius to return to their home world to stage their epic defense. And so, shortly before the Tyranids launched their invasion, over 25 successor chapters joined the Blood Angel forces, even including some renegade chapters like the Knights of Blood.
Damn. Yeah, you're gonna need all the help that you can get. Even some of these, I bet, are enemies, like direct enemies, and they're like, well, we're gonna have to put our differences aside because these bugs are fucking crazy.
The Lamenters did not show up, which is honestly probably for the best, as their cosmic bad luck probably wouldn't have helped in this apocalyptic battle. Anyways, this congregation of Blood Angel successors was the largest family reunion for the Sons of Sanguinius since the heresy, and with their combined might, Dante had command of nearly 30,000 Marines. Many Marines gathered to coordinate their defense.
That is a lot, but it ain't enough.
In the city of Angel's Fall, which is where Sanguinius first landed as a little baby Primarch. The Marines would be
How many were left at the end of this? I'm gonna take a guess. I'm gonna say 30,000 of them. I'm gonna say 30.
But into 4 forces to defend their home. You see, Baal itself has 2 Baals. It's Moons, Baal Primus, and Baal Secundus. And so, about a fifth of the Marines, notably including the Flesh Terrors, were sent to Baal Primus, a fifth to Baal Secundus, and a fifth to stage an orbital defense, and then the rest to the planet of Baal. On Baal and its balls, the Marines fortified their fortress monastery, void shield generators, gun batteries, and other significant structures. They also used some of Baal's natural hazards to fortify, one notable one being a mote of the deadly creature known as Thirstwater. This is an ambush predator that looks like water and kills whatever comes into contact with it, which is pretty badass. Anyways though, Leviathan would arrive at Baal seeking vengeance and a tasty snack after the events in Cryptus, and they launched their assault. The Battle of Baal started with a huge orbital clash of hundreds of ships on both sides, fighting it out in Baal's orbit. And by hundreds
Dude, there's so much balls going on in this video.
Ships on both sides. I actually mean the Marines had hundreds of ships, and the Nids had tens and thousands of ships.
Yeah.
Despite being greatly outnumbered, the Marines put up a valiant fight and used nuclear missiles to level the playing field a bit.
They got nukes? That's fucking cool.
But despite the Marines' great efforts, the Tyranid horde was able to outmaneuver the Marines and unveiled a secret
There's just too many of them.
second fleet that ambushed and crushed the remains of the Marines' orbital defenses. And even after taking heavy losses, the Tyranids still had a huge number of bugs to unleash on the planet. So, with the orbital defenses mangled, Leviathan made planetfall and moonfall. Wait, the bugs made moonfall?
Makes sense. That movie was garbage. I like that movie a lot, actually. It's garbage, but it's good garbage.
Absolute cinema.
Yep.
But anyways, the Tyranids began their assault with a tried and true tactic of sending endless waves of endless bugs at the enemies. This strategy proved effective as the Marines were already vastly outnumbered. And just like in the Void,
and they're just gonna be more and more outnumbered. Like, it's just gonna get worse and worse and worse. That's always what happens in Warhammer. Everything gets worse. Even if you win, it's fleeting.
Tyranids would rapidly adapt to any strategy the Marines could muster. And to make matters even worse, a warp rift was opening in the system, and the Angels had to send an elite team of librarians to mend it. This meant that, beyond the looming threat of chaos joining the fray, the Blood Angels didn't have access to their most powerful character, the ultra mega super insano madman Lord of Death Mephiston. And so, since he was busy trying to mend a warp rift with some other librarians, he didn't get to do much bug hunting other than single-handedly annihilating a giant swarm of Tyranids crazy style on the way to the rift. But anyways,
That does sound pretty insane. I might have to look into just that specific part of this video.
on all fronts, the Angels were being battered down and losing Marines at an unacceptable rate. Great heroes of countless battles were being cut down by the savage claws of Leviathan. The Hive Mind had also sent Gene Stealers, Lictors, and Raveners behind Blood Angel lines in order to completely surround the hopeless defenders. They erupted from within the Angels' fortresses and destroyed all they came across. Notably, the Blood Angel neophytes and their sarcophagi were being targeted, which would destroy the Blood Angel's hopes of rebuilding and continuing as a chapter. So, Dante got on his bike and continued to show why he's the coolest Blood Angel maybe ever as he tore through the halls of the Arx Angelicum on an assault bike, cutting and blasting bugs so badassly it would make a White Scar blush. But this was a trap. The Tyranid Gambit to divert Dante away from the main defense had worked, and a Lictor was able to
What, you thought it would be that easy?
destroy the shield generator, and
it
Dante
just gets
failed
much
to
worse.
protect the Angel sarcophagi, dooming the Blood Angel's future. This was a decisive move, as the Angels were now besieged by
blood, gallons of the stuff.
artillery fire and aerial forces, making the swarm even more deadly. Meanwhile, on Baal Secundus, the Swarmlord had finally appeared and started wreaking havoc on the Imperial defenders, turning the tide of the battle on Secundus, and, if things weren't bad enough, back with Team Mephiston.
I told you, man. It just keeps getting worse. Just keeps getting worse.
One of his psychers fell to the temptation of Khorne, and the ritual had failed, opening the gate for a demonic incursion on Baal Primus.
And when this ends, it's not really going to be the end, because it just means that it got the worst that it could be, until it's just called something else, until something else happens.
Gulp. And then, if things weren't bad enough, across the galaxy, Cadia had fallen. R.I.P. This fall meant that the Great Rift tore through the galaxy, and this psychic cataclysm fully opened the gate on Baal Primus, allowing the ancient nemesis of the Blood Angels, Kabunda, to manifest. Hell literally broke loose as the demons attacked both the Tyranids and the Imperials.
Now you got a three-way battle. And they're all fighting each other. And it's only gonna get worse!
But luckily for the Space Marines, the huge warp surge temporarily dazed the Tyranid forces, cutting them off from the Hive Mind for a little bit. In the din of the battle, the Knights of Blood sacrificed themselves so that the Flesh Terrors could fall back to Baal and make their last stand. The Knights' Mega Chad Chapter Master Centaur Jewel let himself go to the Black Rage, and he tried to solo Kabunda. He, of course, instantly lost, but it was cool nonetheless. With their sacrifice, the Knights of Blood were redeemed, and Gabriel and the boys were able to escape the planet as the demons killed literally everything on Baal Primus.
Dude.
But luckily, as a consolation prize, the opening of the Great Rift and the arrival of Kabunda did wipe out a large chunk of the Tyranid fleet and gave Dante time to give an awesome speech and inspire his Marines for their final stand.
Yeah, and they're all gonna die, aren't they? Yeah, they're not gonna win this.
Dante declared all Blood Angels to be Death Company, as they were now a doomed chapter about to kill as many Tyranids as they could before their inevitable deaths. The gates of the Tower of Omero were opened again, and those lost to the Black Rage fought alongside their brothers one last time. In this final stand, things went real crazy style as the Blood Angels and Tyranids made a final clash.
That tends to be how it goes. When you get toward the end, everything gets much crazier, the craziest it's ever been.
Dante and his brothers began to fall to the Black Rage and fought more ferociously than ever. The Sanguinius also appeared, leading the Legion of the Damned against the Great Devourer, and he guided Dante towards the Swarmlord for an epic final duel. Before fighting the beast, Dante looked into the Swarmlord's eyes and gazed into the vastness of the Hive Mind and its infinite hunger. For a moment, Dante sympathized with the beast as the red thirst paled in comparison to the Great Devourer's great hunger. And so, before their vicious battle, Dante began to fall to the black rage, and he saw the beast as Horus. But he warded off the madness and declared that he will die as Dante, not Sanguinius. And at last, Dante and the Swarmlord engaged in their final duel. They traded blows for a while, and eventually Dante's jump pack was destroyed, leaving his armor with limited power. He was then assailed by a psychic attack from the Swarmlord, but he was unwavered, and he shattered the monster's blade. And with his armor failing, Dante lined up a final shot with his Inferno pistol, and fired a shot so intense that it scorched himself and completely vaporized the Swarmlord's vile face.
But he's dying.
With the Swarmlord dead, Dante collapsed to the floor and accepted his long-awaited death.
Yep.
But then, the Sanguinor appeared, and through the apparition, Sanguinius himself spoke to Dante once more. Dante begged his father to let him finally die, but Sanguinius lamented the fact that Dante—
Oh man, I didn't see this coming. Like, please, I just want to die in peace. Just let me have peace finally. Nope, we got more wars to fight.
His story was not yet over, and he still had purpose. Dante was then revived, and he awoke to the newly resurrected Primarch Robude Guilliman. Guilliman and his indomitable Primaris had saved the remnants of the Blood Angels and helped reclaim Baal from the Tyranids and Chaos Menace. In addition, the Primaris reinforcements would allow the Blood Angels to live on despite the grievous losses they faced. And due to Dante's heroics, Guilliman officially appointed him regent.
Then what'll happen is they'll slowly rebuild while also fending off a bunch of threats until there's inevitably another war.
The Imperium Nihilus, ushering in a new age of hope for the chapter. Although they were ravaged to just a few hundred Marines, and many of their successor chapters were completely wiped out, they were now able to rebuild with the new Primaris project. And so, Dante and his angels worked towards hunting down the remains of Leviathan and destroying the chaos taint brought on by Kabunda. As for the Tyranids, despite being nearly wiped out by the Marines and Demon forces, Leviathan managed to slip away and regroup. It used the valuable knowledge gained against the Blood Angels to launch the Fourth Tyrannic War after regaining their vast numbers. For the Tyranids' great hunger can never be—
Just think of the worst possible thing, and that's what happens every time in Warhammer. That's how it's predictable. Oh, the worst possible thing? It happened? Oh shit, well, it's probably not even the worst possible thing, because let me tell you, anything that you think of, it gets much worse. Much, much worse.
Destroyed. And yeah, that's the devastation of Baal, and the conclusion of the Third Tyrannic War. If you thought that this story was cool, I'd strongly urge you to read the Devastation of Baal novel. I think it's a cool Blood Angels book with a lot of badass moments.
I ain't got time to read all these books. I wish I did.
Especially from Dante, but
I ain't got the
both
money
sides
either.
get cool moments. I intentionally left some things out as to not spoil the entire book, just the major plot points, but it's still a good read. And I think that the Blood Angels and Tyranids are such a natural fit for enemies considering their fighting style and themes, and the parallels between the two are also quite interesting, making for a pretty cool story. But let me know what you thought of this battle and what battles you'd like me to cover.
I thought it was terrible. I thought it was the worst thing that I've ever seen in Warhammer. Not actually. Horus Heresy is pretty fucking bad.
For next in the comments below. And again, big thanks to Incogni for sponsoring this video.
And by the way, when I say it's pretty fucking bad, I mean it's absolute fucking cinema. I love Warhammer lore so much. I'm gonna keep going for a little while at least. I might do some other videos here and there in between some Warhammer lore, but I'm gonna keep on with this Warhammer lore. I fucking love it. I love it so much. I got this guy down there in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for all the notifications. You want to watch more Warhammer lore and all the anime and anime abridged that we're going to be getting into? I also have a gaming channel.